Now my father dug out that hole and he would measure it. He measured the hole, width, length, and then he measured the depth. And he would show me how to read. Dom, you see this right here? This is how you read a tape measure. And he would teach me, this is how you read a tape measure. He says, you got it? I said, yeah, I got it. He says, now I want you to go into the house. I want you to do that in every place where I've sprayed. So I said, okay. And I went into the house and I dug, I can't remember how many there were, but I dug all these holes out by hand. When I finish, I come back and I say, okay, Dad, what next? He said, all right, now we're going to fill the holes with concrete. I said, okay. And he said, go make some concrete, son. And my father had a special mix that he wanted. Father would buy the concrete with the gravel, and then he would buy sand to mix the sand and the concrete and mix it to a certain consistency, right? He didn't want it too runny and he didn't want it too firm, but we'd have to mix it up till it was the right consistency. So I brought over a bucket of concrete to my father and he poured it into the hole. He took a trowel and he showed me how to smooth it out and level up the concrete. He says, you got it? And I said, yeah, I got it. He said, okay, go fill all the holes under there. So my father would bring me buckets of concrete and I would crawl under the house and I'd fill up the holes and then I'd smooth them out. And after I did all the holes, I came back out and I said, okay, Dad, what next? He said, we wait, son. We wait. We'll come back tomorrow. My father explained to me that those are footers. So he had me clean up all the tools. He said, now we're gonna let that sit, Tom. He said, tomorrow we're gonna jack this floor up and we're gonna make it straight. Okay. The next morning we show up with our jack, with a board to go under the jack, and with posts. We would go under the house. My father would measure, and I would jack up the jack. And then he would tell me, whoa, Dom, let it down. I have to let it down a little bit or go up just a little bit more. My father would cut like a 4x4, put it under the house. He would put a post on top of that footer to support the floor. We did this over and over until we got all the posts on top of all those footers that I dug. And my father would measure, and he would measure, and then he'd go cut. And he'd come back and he'd put the post underneath, and he would secure it to the joist, and we'd move on to the next. Now, after we finished, my father said, okay, Dom, get the tools in the truck. I'm going to go talk to her. I said, okay. I put all the tools in the truck, and I was thinking, I got to see this floor. I got to see this floor, right? I have to see what we've done. I walk in, and they're now standing in the center of the floor, and it's level. I mean, it is as straight as can be. And I thought, whoa, like this is wild. Like, I don't know how this man did this, you know? The crazy thing is he never went inside to check. He did all his measuring underneath the house. No laser, no modern technology. I think he made like $600 on that job. My dad never charged a lot for his jobs either. He treated people right. We're getting in the truck and this lady comes out. Mr. Bill, oh, I got a problem. And he said, what is it, dear heart? It's my water heater. It's leaking. I need you to look at it. And he said, okay. So we go inside and it's leaking in the floor. And my dad looks at it. He shuts the water off and he said, I'm sorry, dear. You're going to need a new water heater. He said, if you pick one up, I'll put it in for you cheap. And she said, oh, Mr. Bill, I just don't have any money. I can't afford a water heater. I had to save up for that job you just did. She said, I'm on a fixed income. She said, I don't have much money. And my dad says, give me 1 second, hon, I'll be right back. And me and my dad walk outside and I said, what are we going to do? And he said, we're going to help this lady. And I thought, she just said she doesn't have any money. How are we going to help her? Dad said, she's got kids in the house now. We can't leave these people with no water. So we rode down to Alabama Power together. And at that time, I don't know if you can still do it, but at that time, if you have a contractor's license, you can walk into Alabama Power and you can say, hey, I'm changing a customer over from gas to electric, and they'll give you a water heater for free. And that's what we did. I helped him load the water heater on the truck, and we went back out to the house. We brought it inside. He hooked everything up, showed me how to hook up a water heater, bled off the air, wired it up, turned everything on, and it was working. I think he charged her like $60. That was it. I looked at my dad and I said, we helped that lady, Dad. And he said, yeah, Dom, I didn't have anything in the water heater. He said, it took a little bit of time, but made about $60. He said, and those kids don't have to take a cold bath tonight. And I thought, wow, to me, that was like a Robin Hood moment. I remember sharing that story with my father and telling him that was something that really made me admire him. I felt like we did something good that day. It ain't all about money, guys. It's about the people you help.